change in health. And welcome everyone today as we celebrate the One Health Day. And just so that we can understand what exactly One Health celebration means and how interconnected, all these aspects of human health, animal health, and environmental health are connected. I want to welcome Dr. Nathan Utman to give us a grounding on the whole aspect of interconnectedness of One Health. Um, so karibu sana Dr. Nathan.
Thank you, Matindi, and welcome to everyone. I'll just do a brief overview about the motivation behind and also a brief background about One Health Day. So globally, One Health Day is celebrated every year on November 3rd, and that was just yesterday, but to hold a virtual celebration on the Acopphe side and working with our partners with Masai Mara University, we saw that giving people an opportunity to rest over the weekend and opening up this virtual space today during the week to celebrate One Health Day would be a good opportunity to connect with like-minded advocates for One Health. And in particular, what we see is that there is a major opportunity to look at the bottom-up approach, the community-centered translation of the theory of One Health into practice. And that is why we are very excited about the speakers that we have representing Masai Mara University, different levels of training from the graduate students level to the professor level, represented by Dr. Wawero. And what we are hoping is that this will be an interactive space where we are able to learn more about our colleagues who share our interest in connecting in this space. And towards the second half of the meeting, we have plenty of time dedicated to an interactive discussion where our hope is that we will get to know each other better, share ideas, and especially see how moving forward we can support each other's work and make it so that the solutions on the One Health side become scaled and much more normalized in the different settings that we coexist together with the animals and the environments, looking at that united health, One Health between human, animal, and environment. So those are our objectives. I'll just paste a few links in the chat in case anyone is interested in learning more about One Health Day. But again, as we look towards the second half of the meeting and closing for tonight, we really hope that this will be an ongoing discussion where we see how potentially in 2025, we are able to have One Health Day celebrated in many more communities, and we make this movement much more stronger, dynamic, and impactful. So again, welcome everyone. I will look to see if Mason is available for introducing the three speakers that we have today, and then we proceed. But welcome everyone. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, and after we have the presentations, we will have space for question and answer for the presenters, and then open discussion and idea sharing for everyone on how we can work together in the One Health space. Welcome, Mason.
Mason. Oh, just as Mason gets ready, asante sana Dr. Nathan for grounding us and telling us how grounded we are in the component of One Health. One Health approach, even as we all dedicate ourselves to addressing these global challenges like the zoonotic diseases, the antimicrobial resistance, and also climate change. And thank you also again for mentioning how the celebration of this day what we aim to achieve at the end of it, which is raising awareness and the great importance of embracing the One Health approach, and how we look forward to creating a network or promoting collaboration among different experts, different people from different disciplines, and encouraging them to take actions to achieve a healthier planet, both at an individual level and as a group, as a team. Thank you. So, karibu sana, Mason. Um, I hope you can hear me now, Mason. Okay, if my son is not available, I want to take you to
Just
our second agenda, which is oh, karibu sana my son.
Thank you, Matindi. So welcome everyone. I think the second agenda is the main agenda, which is actually presentation, and our first presenter is going to be Martha Posibori Mosetti. Our second presenter is going to be Feruz, and our third and last presenter is going to be Mr. Waweru. So I'm going to introduce Ms. Martha Bosibori Mosetti. She's going to, title presentation is Temporal Variation in Water Quality Parameters in Water Pumps in Narok, a proposal to One Health approach to water use across different land uses. And her bio is she's Martha Bosibori Mosetti, Masai Mara University postgraduate student in environmental studies. Her area of specialization is environmental biology, with a focus in understanding freshwater ecosystems and ecology. She aspires to contribute to environmental conservation through research, policy development, and sustainable management of natural resources. So right about now, I'm going to welcome Martha Mosetti to take us through her presentation for the next, I think the time span is about 10-15 minutes. So we feel welcome, Ms. Martha. Thank you.
I've lost you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So as you've heard, my name is Martha Mosetti. I'm a master's student at Masai Mara University in Narok, Kenya. And this is a study that we conducted last year on spatiotemporal variation in water quality parameters in water plants in Narok, Kenya. So a brief introduction of Narok. Narok is a water scarce environment. Immediately after exams, I was 17 and emission 1 week. Sorry for that. My network is a little bit shaky. So Narok is a water scarce environment, receives low rainfall. And for that matter, we have various sources of water in Narok. We have the Mara River Basin, which is the main source of water in Narok landscape. And then we also have small water bodies like the water pans, which have been constructed by individuals, by the county government, by NGOs, to purposely serve as a source of water to communities for various domestic purposes, and also for livestock consumption and small-scale agriculture. So generally, freshwater resources are facing ecological stress. They are facing quite a number of challenges. Most of them are human, anthropogenic factors which influences the water quality. And one of them is pollution. Pollution deteriorates the quality of the fresh water, and these pollutants makes the water unfit for human consumption, and therefore leading to quite a number of diseases to humans, also to even livestock, and also affecting the aquatic organisms, the organisms present in the aquatic environment. And our major focus was to measure the physical-chemical parameters in the water pans to help us understand the quality of the water pans, because these physical-chemical parameters, they are influenced by anthropogenic factors. So their variation, depending on the seasons, is influenced by anthropogenic factors. So we have parameters such as dissolved oxygen, we have hardness, alkalinity, nutrients, and temperature. All these parameters determines the water quality, and their changes have either positive or negative impacts to the health of humans. So the change of these parameters, like we say, having high dissolved oxygen in those water pans, affect human health in one way, or even having high alkalinity, because most of these water pans are used by humans for consumption and for other domestic purposes. So from those factors affecting these water resources, the Mara River, which is a major water resource in Narok, is facing also tremendous challenges, and its ability to support millions of inhabitants who depends on this resource for water for various activities. And then this resource, it provides ecosystem services such as water for domestic use, livestock consumption. It supports aquatic life like fish, irrigation, and also being a transboundary resource, it serves as a corridor for migration of species between the Mara ecosystem. The picture that we're having here is the interaction of livestock, humans with the water pans, with the water resources. So what is happening here is that we're having livestock consuming directly from the pans, and at the same time we're having humans fetching water from those pans. So the end result is that we're having animals consuming water, and at the same time defecating in those water pans, and also urinating in those water pans. So the continuous interaction of these pans with of livestock with these pans leads to increase of organic matter in those pans, and this organic matter acts as a source of nutrients in those water bodies. So the accumulation of these nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, and also we have ammonia, it leads to eutrophication, and eutrophication is the blooming of algae. So you can see the green, the water is green, which is an indication that blooming is taking place. So excess of nutrients leads to blooming.
Martha, I think you're muted. We cannot hear you.
One area was influenced by agriculture and the other one was influenced by pastoralism. And then also we considered season, the dry and the wet season, to check the variation of the physicochemical parameters in those seasons. So this is the map of Kenya showing the location of Narok. Then we also have the map of Narok showing the location of the water pans that we selected during the study. Yeah. So we have the water pans were selected from two transects. We have the transect which was influenced by agriculture, and the other one was influenced by pastoralism and livestock. Yeah, you can zoom in. So the water pans that we selected were 20. And these water pans we selected them purposively from Google Earth, considering a number of factors like the accessibility, availability of water in those pans, the ownership, even the size of the water pans. So we selected 20 from Google Earth, and then we also considered the location, which is the land use, agriculture, and pastoralism, because we were interested in understanding how agriculture influences the quality of the water pans. And then also how livestock influenced the quality of the water in those pans. Can you move the slides up? The next, yeah. And also we sampled these water pans 3 times in every season. So during the dry season, we sampled 3 times and also 3 times during the wet season. So at the field, we had to measure some parameters in situ, which was temperature, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, and pH. We measured them in situ using the handheld meters. Then we had to take samples for chemical analysis, which were the nutrients. We took them in 1 liter from each pan. And from each pan, we used a 20-liter water bucket for fetching the water from each pan. Then we took 1 liter, which was taken to the lab for analysis. This water was stored in a cooler box with ice, and then it was transported to the lab for analysis. And also at the field, we took some photos. I was sampling actually with my supervisor and my other team. So the first photo we were taking, we were measuring the physicochemical parameters, the physical parameters, which were temperature, conductivity, pH, and dissolved oxygen. And then the 20-liter bucket, as you can see, we were taking a 1 liter sample for chemical analysis. Next slide. So the results that we got, we measured a total of 15 physicochemical parameters. 4 of them were measured in situ. And then we had the rest being determined in the lab. So the other parameters were measured in the lab following the AFA 2017 standard operating procedures for determining the amount of nutrients in water bodies. So we measured, and then we also had the variation. We compared the first table, we compared the variation of physicochemical parameters between different seasons. And then, as we can see, temperature varied between seasons. So temperature was high during the dry season. Conductivity was also high during the dry season. Dissolved oxygen was low during the dry season, but high during the wet season. pH was high during the wet season. Total nitrogen was high during the dry season. Total phosphorus was high during the dry season. And the rest of the parameters were high during the dry season. And what led to the variation was that during the dry season, there was increased concentration of the solutes due to evaporation of the water in those pans, because some of these pans, you could see that the water volume had reduced due to evaporation, and also due to continuous abstraction of this water by animals, by humans, and also for purposes like agriculture. So it led to increase of these chemical parameters in those pans. So, but dissolved oxygen was high during the wet season, and this was influenced by water dilution, enhancing dissolving of the microbial, reduction of the microbial activities, reduced decomposition of materials, facilitating availability of high dissolved oxygen. And then also we had the variation between different sites, agriculture and pastoralism. And most of these parameters were high in areas where livestock were dominant, where pastoralism was the major land use activity. So as you've seen, the livestock interact more with the water pans than how humans interact with those pans. So the amount of nutrients in those pans were from interacting with the livestock, from livestock organic matter. So it led to increase of the organic matter in the water pans. Then, so we also had these physicochemical parameters not meeting the WHO standards, making them making the all water unfit for human consumption. Because we can see even total phosphorus and total nitrogen are quite high in those pans, which is an essential component that determines the quality of the water. And also there's something we determined when we were doing this study. We determined the availability of some species in those pans, which I've actually not provided here. So there were some of the species, the water species are called the phytoplankton. We had some species of phytoplankton called the cyanobacteria, which were blooming during the dry season. And when they bloom is an indication that this water is polluted, because these phytoplankton species are bioindicators of water pollution. They're bioindicators of water pollution. That's also one thing that we noted. So to conclude is that the physicochemical parameters were high during the dry season, and also they were high in areas where livestock is dominant. So they were influenced by season and site. And these physicochemical parameters they were also influenced by site, which is the location of the water pans. From agriculture, we also had some of the pans having the high physicochemical parameters from agricultural areas. Because, you know, in pans that were close to agricultural areas. They could also receive nutrients from runoff from agricultural fields. And also some of those ponds, they were not 100% used by agriculture. They were also having like livestock around there. They could also consume water from those ponds. Some of the recommendations that we had is that the responsible authorities, like the ones who have constructed these water ponds, we have the individuals, we have the NGOs, and we have the local government that facilitated construction of these water ponds. They can protect this. These water ponds by strengthening the guidelines and regulations. Then we also have the communities or the individuals which are using these water ponds. They can embrace treatment of these water ponds by using water guards to at least reduce the amount of pollutants or the amount of the chemical concentration of the chemical parameters in those water ponds. And because some of these water ponds were receiving nutrients from external sources, which are agriculture, the water pond owners can embrace nature-based solutions like planting of the macrophytes to reduce the amount of nutrients which are being swept into those ponds. So the macrophytes act as a nutrient sinks. They absorb excess nutrients, therefore reducing the amount of nutrients in those ponds. Also, because these ponds are used by livestock, so the water pond owners can modernize these water ponds, like having a small pond near this water, the larger pond where animals can feed from or can consume water from instead of directly interacting with the ponds and polluting those water ponds. Finally, I take this moment to acknowledge the water pond owners. They gave us an opportunity to sample from their ponds. Also, the supervisors who guided me when I was doing this work, I was having Dr. Maboga and Professor Bila. Then this work was also funded by UNESCO. We also had the lab technicians from Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute who helped in the analysis of these physicochemical parameters and species. Then we also had friends, and then also Masai Mara University for providing a platform from where I've been able to research freely on this work. Thank you. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Martha. Quickly. Nathan?
Yes, this is my son. Thank you very much, Martha. I know most of us, or actually all of us, have questions to Martha. And I'm just wanting us to go maybe to the next speaker, and you can keep your questions coming directed to either one or all of the presenters, so that we save a bit of time. But I'm confident enough that we will have the question and answer session. So I'm going to introduce to us Feiruz Adan Ibrahim of Masai Mara University, who is going to present on an assessment of physical and microbial water quality from water bosses in Gate D, tested within Masai Mara University in Narok County. So I want to welcome Feiruz Adan as our next presenter. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the chance. I don't know if you're. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. My name is Feiruz Adan, has been mentioned. I'm a master's student here in Masai Mara University. I'm majoring on environmental studies, particularly environmental biology. I'm also a graduate assistant in the School of Natural Resource, Environmental Studies and Agriculture. The department is Environmental Studies, Geography and Planning. So this is my undergraduate project that I did. The title is Assessment of Water Quality from Water Bowsers in Gate D Estate within Masai Mara University in Narok Town. I need to acknowledge my supervisor. My supervisor is Dr. Jedida Nankaya, senior lecturer in Masai Mara University. So I can begin with the background.
Feroz?
So I see Feroz might be muted. I don't know if you can try to unmute Feroz. I think you were briefly unmuted, but now it's muted again. Maybe you try. Yeah.
Am I audible right now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Feroz, we can't hear you. You're still muted.
I'm really sorry for that, but I think on my side. Hello.
Just go
Yes,
on.
we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was giving a brief about Narok, Masai Mara University, and the Gate D Estate. So access to safe and cleaning water remain a critical challenge in many parts of the Kenya, particularly even in Narok County. So with the water sources that it is not reliable, they have an alternative water source that include the water bowsers. So I can define what is a water bowser. Water bowser is just a mobile water tank deployed to distribute fresh water in emergencies where the normal system of piped distribution has been broken down. It is just like a lorry. It is painted, clean water. It is I'll share the pictures. So that is its supply water. It's an alternative water supply and it is heavily used in this estate. So Get the estate, just a brief description about it. It's just an estate within Masai Mara University, and it is highly populated with students and other residents. So the relevance of this study, the study aimed to assess the physical, chemical, and bacteriological quality of water bowsers that is supplied in Gate D Estate, that is a residential estate where students live within Masai Mara University. So the data that I'm going to find the result that is going to be found because of this study is going to inform the health policies and promote safer water policies. And the study is also relevant because it is relevant, it contributes to Sustainable Development Goal, that is number 6, that declare importance of achieving clean water and sanitation for all. So problem of the statement, we have insufficient municipal water. The pipe water is very insufficient. So there's an alternative use of these water bowsers. And the water quality of these water bowsers is questionable. There's not been previous studies about the quality of this water bowser that is being supplied to the Get D estate. So my study aimed to determine the quality of this water that is being supplied to the resident of Get D estate. The objective to determine the physical-chemical parameters of the drinking water from water bowsers. Then the second objective was to determine the bacteriological quality of drinking water from water bowsers in Get D estate. So research methodology, this is a quantitative research design that majorly use experiment lab to analyze the physiochemical and also the bacteriological quality of that water. So sampling procedure, I use a simple random technique where I just select 6 water bowsers that is supplying water to the resident of Get D estate. Then I sample the water. So water sampling and collection and transportation. The water quality sampling was done by random selectively 6 water bowsers from Get D estate. So all the water sample was collected using a plastic bottle that was clean, sterile prior for sampling. That is according to the APHA 2005 guideline. So I collected the sample in 2 days, early in the morning. Then I was able to store in cool box and transported in Masai Mara University Chem Laboratory for physiochemical analysis. And for bacteriological analysis, I use Nawasco. Nawasco is just Narok Water Sewerage Company. For bacteriological analysis, I analyze for both fecal and total coliforms. The technique that I used for analyze was membrane filtration technique. So I use the technique to estimate the viable microorganism that is in that sample water. Data collection. The sample size I just picked 6 water bowsers randomly. Sample collection was done in October 2021. It is my undergraduate thesis. I did sample collection in October 2021 and analyzed it. For the results, so the parameters that I analyzed for physiochemical include the pH, total dissolved solid, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, total suspended solid, temperature. So for the result, the physiochemical parameters, the pH range from 4.38 to 4.812. That is below the standard of WHO, the recommended one, that is 6.5 to 8.5. Then the total dissolved solid range from 400 milligram per liter to 1,800. Conductivity ranges from 141.3 to 169.89, representing that is an ion concentration in the water. Dissolved oxygen ranges from 5.16 to 9.84 milligram per liter. Total suspended solid ranges from 200 to 600 milligram per liter. So correlation analysis, I just did a relationship between this water sorry, the result for physiochemical parameters. You can just proceed next. Correlation analysis, I did relationship between these parameters, the total dissolved solid, total suspended solid. So this correlation for the total dissolved solid and total suspended solid, there's a slightly positive correlation. For pH and dissolved oxygen, there is also a positive relationship of that 51.2%. For total dissolved solid and total and DO, that is dissolved oxygen, there was also a weak positive correlation. The relationship, that was just a relationship. For bacteriological quality analysis, the results, so the E. coli I analyzed too for the fecal and the total coliform. For fecal coliform, I particularly measured on E. coli. Yeah, so for the result for the E. coli count, it ranges from 0 to 20 per 250 milliliter. Because the water the bottle that I was using to collect the water was just a plastic bottle of 250 milliliter. Where the coliforms ranges from 0 to 28. So the result shows that all water bowsers were contaminated with fecal and total coliforms except bowser 4. So for the discussion, I can begin with the physiochemical parameters. So for the pH, it ranges from 4.3 to 4.812. So that was below the standard of WHO, that is 6.5 to 8.5. So it was indicating that acidity in the water that will affect the taste of the water and also the usability of that water. For the temperature, it was constant, that is 11.4. It was within the acceptable range of WHO, that is up to 15 degrees per the WHO standard. For the total suspended solid, conductivity and dissolved oxygen level, the level ranges from 5.16 to 9.84. That was within the range of WHO standard, that is 5.0 to 9.5. For the total dissolved solid, it was ranging from 400 to 1,800 milligram per liter, which was not within the WHO standard. So for the analysis of bacteriological tests, it revealed that all the bowsers contain E. coli, meaning it was contaminated and not fit for human consumption because it exceeds the WHO standard except bowser 4. The reason maybe the reason we found that maybe that bowser was undergoing cleaning. There was regular cleaning of that bowser, but compared to the other bowsers, all of them were contaminated with fecal. It was not fit for human consumption. But in real sense, the water, it is the water that is being used by most of the residents of Gate D. For my recommendation, the first one is to enhance water supply. County. Narok County or Narok Town is just a water scarce county. There is need for enhancing water supplies, maybe adequate water supply through the Ministry of Water. I also recommend that there should be routine bowser inspection where they conduct inspection, they conduct cleaning of the water bowsers, because the water bowsers is a metal. It is a tank. The tank is a metal tank. It can rust anytime, and also there is need for testing metal in that water. I did not focus on that, but also there is need. So public awareness, there is need also to educate the resident in Gate D Estate about the water quality that they're using the water that they're using in case of safetiness of that water. And also there is need for use of alternative water sources, that is harvesting, the rainwater harvesting technique, and also effective treatment protocol where to ensure that treatment of that the water is being treated so that it can adhere to have a safe water for drinking. So that is all for the summary. I just summarized the results that I just mentioned earlier. So thank you. And that is all about my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Feiruz, for your insightful presentation. And I know that I'm not sure James is raising his hand, or yeah, you can actually keep your questions coming, or you can reserve because we have that session to ask questions.
Women.
And
Si nilikuwa nimezuia walikuwa wamemute. Sasa
Feiruz, you can mute your microphone. Oh, thank you. So I want to invite our last speaker, that is Dr. Waweru Kamundia, in the Department of Animal Health and Production, Masai Mara University, and it's going to present on One Health Strategies for Sustainable Development, addressing estrogenic endocrine disruptors and microbial water quality beyond the Mara Basin. So I want to welcome you, Dr. Waweru, to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as you heard, my name is Waweru Kamundia. I'm a lecturer at Masai Mara University, Department of Animal Health and Production, in the School of Natural Resources, Environmental Studies and Agriculture. I want to commend the two ladies who presented before me are our students in the school. And you can see they've worked on microbial and chemical and physical qualities of water. I'll be presenting on endocrine disruptors and microbial water quality, not in the Mara, but downstream, where it's actually very far off. So down in the Lake Victoria. So the Mara Basin basically encompasses the Mara River, which connects to the Gulf, not directly, but it ends up in Musoma, Tanzania. So it leaves Kenya, goes to Tanzania. However, it drains to a lake that is shared by 3 major East African countries. And what I'm trying to do is to start up a discussion and a thought as we talk about pollution in Mara. What happens downstream? As we narrow, what happens to our water upstream, for example? So this connection is significant for both environmental sustainability and human activities, as the river flows influence the water quality, but the biodiversity, the ecosystem health, not just of the Mara Basin, but also of the Winam Gulf Basin. So that map, the first map there, shows you the Mara Basin. You can see it crosses over to Tanzania, enters the lake at Musoma. The next map there shows Lake Victoria, part of Tanzania. So my work basically was in Kisumu. It's not directly connected, but I wanted to discuss some of the findings we found. Also had work done in Mwanza region, that is in Tanzania, on endocrine disruptors and the microbial load in water. So the work we did in Winam Gulf, we were basically isolating and characterizing bacteria from water, and also looking at endocrine disrupting chemicals. I'll explain what endocrine disrupting chemicals are shortly. And the rationale was Lake Victoria is a vital ecosystem and a resource which millions of people use. However, it's facing increasing anthropogenic pressure. In the Mara region, we're having agriculture, both livestock and crop. We're using agrochemicals, we're using pesticides, herbicides, acaricides, and so forth. And combining the two objectives kind of gives us a comprehensive understanding of the environmental health risks associated with the pollution of the lake, which is fed by the Mara region. So the contaminants we are looking at is estrogenic endocrine disrupting chemicals. Endocrine disrupting chemicals are wide range, but for us, we looked at the endocrine. And these are basically estrogens excreted by humans, animals, and they've been known to basically cause reproductive disorders, developmental abnormalities, neurological disorders, cancers, and immune system dysfunction. Bringing us back to Mara, we have some endocrine disruptors in forms of pesticides, herbicides, and one of the major polluters is also the contraceptives used by ladies to in their reproductive management. And all these end up in aquatic bodies at the rivers, the lakes, and the next was bacteria and the microbes here, which were interested in water, or pathogenic microbes, which spread in the water, but they find a way of coming back into our food and water. And the health impacts here are infectious diseases, both foodborne and waterborne. And also an emerging issue, the antibiotic resistance. In this study, we didn't look at antibiotic resistance, but we looked at the occurrence of the bacteria. In terms of One Health, what we are seeing is the endocrine disruptors are coming from animals and humans. They land up in the water. They end up affecting the aquatic animals, whether it's frogs, fish, amphibians, and therefore there's a whole cascade of effects in the ecosystem. And any animal that may consume this water, whether it's another human being, a terrestrial animal, it would be consuming more endocrine disruptors, and those ones have another effect on their bodies. So you can see it's quite a cycle, the One Health. For the pathogenic bacteria, again, they may originate from humans or animals. And once they end up in the aquatic, the terrestrial or aquatic ecosystem, they may end up in our food or water, and therefore the waterborne and the foodborne diseases. So we collected water from river mouths and fish landing sites in Kisumu and Homa Bay, and that's a total of 71 samples. And there's a picture of me collecting the water. And those are the chemicals we were looking at. There's estron, 17-beta-estradiol, and 89-estradiol. And these were extracted using carbon-18 solid phase extraction technique, and later analyzed quantified and using the competitive enzyme linked sorbent assay, the ELISA. For the microbial analysis, we basically did morphological characterization and biochemical tests to characterize the bacteria. And quickly, some of the results we have, these are from the estrogens, and you can see the 3 estrogens. In all the samples we tested, we were able to get the 3 estrogens at various levels, concentration levels. And the highest concentration was found the estrogens. The least was the 17-beta estradiol, the second one right there. And you can see there's a variation in terms of the river versus the fish landing sites. And these occurred, the differences were occurring depending on the estrogen that was being tested in. And that slide shows you the various rivers. And the bigger the town, for example, you find what in Homa Bay, the concentration was lower. When you jump to Kisumu, where the population is higher, the concentration would jump a bit higher. We also looked at the various points, collection points. For example, if you collect from the shore and you sample 100 meters into the shore, into the lake, another 100 meters into the lake, we're trying to see whether there will be a variation in concentration. And we found that there were variations, again, depending on the endocrine disruptor or estrogen that was being tested. Some would be more on the shore, others, as you went in, they would lessen. Again, that one shows you the variations of the different rivers and the different landing sites for the various, that's for 17-beta estradiol, for example. And you can see that they vary depending on various activities going on in the The next slide there shows you the bacteria that were isolated from the water. These are from the water specifically, and the most common was Staphylococcus aureus, followed by E. coli, and those, for example, E. coli, it's an indicator of fecal bacterial. It's an indicator of fecal contamination in water. We also got Vibrio species, others which also can Klebsiella, Salmonella, and so forth. That slide is indicating the concentration of bacteria in water, and it shows you in the river you are finding there was more concentration of bacteria again compared to the landing sites. In general discussion, what I was looking at is these endocrine disrupting chemicals and bacteria might represent, again, 2 global health risks or challenges that are transcending national borders. What we were looking at was, say, in Kisumu and Homa Bay, but the lake is one fluid water body. So whatever we may get in, say, Kisumu today, will probably end up in another place tomorrow. And we can therefore not afford to just look at Narok or the Mara Basin, but we have to consider that the chemicals are transient, they are moving. And these substances and microbes have an effect on the human health, the wildlife health, the ecosystem in general. And therefore it requires an attention, not just a local, but a wider spread cooperation at the international level to address these issues. And that's where One Health comes in, where it looks to recognize the health of humans, animals, and the environment as interconnected. Because as we saw, the endocrine disruptors will come from animals and humans, end up disrupting fish, amphibians, and so forth. And therefore that will have an effect on the biodiversity in general. And therefore, by addressing the health issues at the interface of these three areas, we can be able to achieve a better health outcome for all of us. My conclusion is, based, for example, in the presentations from the previous presenters, we have an effect on the immediate local environment, and that one is felt. What happens downstream, for the second one, is that pollution cuts across the borders, cultures, and ecosystems. For example, the Mara River will end up in Musoma, it could end up in Winam Gulf, it could end up in Mwanza, and therefore, the question is, what is the Mara Basin as a whole contributing in terms of terrestrial and aquatic pollution? And that leads to a recommendation. So One Health, basically adopt One Health and also include planetary health, where we are looking, One Health, we could look at it, yes, the humans, the animals, the environment. But now it goes even beyond, because now we have borders which are being crossed. So the element of planetary health comes in, and therefore we have to strategize how do we manage it? What is our role basically in terms of the One Health and the planetary health? And now that we get the fact that pollution will go beyond borders and cultures, so forth, there is a need to craft a wider interdisciplinary and collaborative approach and outreach. And these will include, for example, strengthening the international cooperation. What kind of policies do we have between Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda in management of the pollution issue? There is need to invest more in research to be able to monitor the kind of pollution, the development as it occurs. We also need to look at the promotion of sustainable practices. It's a hard one sometimes because, for example, for the endocrine disruptors, some of them are naturally being excreted. Some are used to mitigate other issues. So, for example, therefore, we need to think of how do we treat our water in terms of sewage, for example, such that some of these chemicals can be downgraded before the water is left to get into our rivers. And lastly, there is need to educate the public. And in terms of how can we avoid some of the pollutants, whether it's microbial, chemical, and if you're going to be using these chemicals, how do we use them in a judicious manner? Lastly is to implement an effective surveillance system. And this one is separate from research. This goes back to either the government, the county government, or the national governments, or the regional governments, whereby they can have, say, the Department of Environment running effective surveillance systems and being able to develop a mitigation measure to manage the issues that we raise. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Mr. Wawero, Dr. Wawero, sorry. And now I've been communicating in the chat box that whoever has a question or questions to paste them directly. And, I want to open the floor now for direct question and Q&A, where where the listeners can engage the presenters. So far, I have only seen one question, and that is from James Olekisie. And he's asking, how can the Mara University help in the rehabilitation of river springs or sources like Narok, Siayapei, Sikinta tributaries of the Wasongiro, or other tributaries of the Mara River originating from, I think this is Mau Highlands, by partnering or on capacity building with the local communities and organizations like the Ilkirembisho Community Organization, which is source of River Njoro in Mau Highland at Etiani. rehabilitated by Egerton University and later handed to Narok government. So I want to pose that question to Mr. James didn't specify to which presenter he was directing that question to. So I just want to pose it generally to the presenter so that they can, and if any one of them has an answer to that question, so please come on. So maybe we can start with you, Dr. Waweru. We
Thank
have
you.
views on what you have to say about that question.
On the issue of the rehabilitation of the rivers, I was hoping my colleagues would join in, but I'll comment on that. Some time back, I know we had a target as a university to help rehabilitate the Sibe River. So I think basically it was Sibe. And it was done to some extent, but the funds were limiting. But that's not an excuse. I think one of the things we would be looking at is, for example, in this forum, is to see how we can also do a cooperation. So, for example, our students usually participate in the cleanups. We have students who are doing forestry who can also help in the reforestation of some of these areas. The idea is to probably approach the university, especially the Department of Environmental Studies, and craft some of these, present some of these questions and see how we can work around them.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Waweru. And the second question goes to Feiruz. And, you know, it's, sorry. Yeah, the second question goes to Feiruz. And the question is, have there been E. coli infections in the area and what actions have been taken? Second, is the county aware of your results and are they considering taking any actions? So Feiruz, kindly unmute yourself and respond to this question.
Thank you so much for the question. For the E. coli infection, E. coli causes a variety of diseases in humans. These include diarrhea, UTIs, pneumonia, sometimes kidney failure, but most of the time people don't know about what causes the water quality that they are using. So there is high chance these people have been infected with E. coli because diseases are so many, diarrhea, UTIs. I did not measure on the impact that the quality of water has, particularly the E. coli on people, but for sure there has been a disease caused by this E. coli based on the water quality. For the result, if I've communicated with the county, particularly I've not communicated my result to the county, but I've communicated in Masai Mara University for my department that dealing with water, that deal with the environmental issues. But I can take that initiative to communicate to counties. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Feiruz. And Dale is asking, how can microbial-based biosensors be developed and optimized for the detection and assessment of estrogenic endocrine disruptors in water quality and monitoring? I think it was Dr. Waweru who handled something to do with estrogenic endocrine disruptors. So kindly, if you'd unmute yourself and respond to this, Dr. Waweru.
Thank you. Now, I think my approach would be different. And it goes back to what Martha Setioso mentioned about, for example, the animals being let to drink right into the water pan. For example, for that one, when you have, for example, if you were to construct a water trough away from the water pan, then it means the water would be cleaner, it will not be contaminated, and therefore you not probably have to institute any measures to try to clean it. So sometimes the best management would be to a preventative measure. For endocrine disruptors, as I said, there are quite a number. For me, what I wanted to raise was awareness. Some will be in the form of, for example, what I said, pesticides, herbicides. There's what we use as contraceptives and so forth. I would want to imagine, for example, most of the water pans, they trap the water from rain runoff. And therefore, it will mean that most of that water either goes through the soil, which may contain some of these chemicals. And also, if the soil has animal droppings, human droppings, feces, it will bring in the microbial load into the water pan. The same would end up in the rivers. So we go back to what we need to develop a better waste management system, for example, for humans. For example, pesticides and herbicides becomes very tricky, but then it means we need to start thinking of how do we minimize the use of these chemicals without losing production. And I'm hoping that those are the questions this group would now start thinking about, and probably think of more research, more policy change. I would love to see probably a county government official in this forum whereby we can talk to them and they get to listen to some of these things. As much as we may read to them and we present something to them, sometimes they end up in a shelf somewhere. However, this provides a very good community where we can talk about these things and give them a life of their own, whereby people pick them up. And so what I would advocate is, let's not look probably at testing, which would also be good, but more of preventative. Thank you.
I see, Dr. Waweru, your presentation has got quite some attention, and there are several questions trickling in. So I just want to direct the other question to you. It has been directed to you direct. Yeah. So what are your recommendations to the county government or both government in Kenya and Tanzania, where people's lives and that of animals have really been affected? And are you able to work collaboratively with the county hospitals that are at the receiving end of these patients or people affected by these endocrine disruptors?
Now, I believe there is a lot being done already. There's been awareness creation, especially among the medics handling the medical side of the issue. However, there's a lot that needs to be done because, as I said, some of these decisions have other implications. For example, I'll give you an example. One of the most famous chemical that was banned, the DDT, that one was an endocrine disruptor. We still have the aldrins and the dedrins, the endosulfans, atrazine, and so forth, glycosulfate, which, depending on the market, you might still find them. Some have been banned, and we use them in agriculture. So that means we have to have a multi-stakeholder involvement, and that's where One Health comes in. We just don't bring the human health, the animal health people. We have to bring in the agriculture people in to look at how are the chemicals that are being used, say, as pesticides and herbicides affecting humans. We have to bring in the department of the Ministry of Water in terms of management, for example, sewage. What One Health would do, both at the county, the national, and the regional governments, would to bring all these stakeholders together to speak one language. And I think also bring an awareness to us as the citizens of these nations that we have to take some steps which might force us to change the lifestyle as we know it. For example, if you're told as a farmer you may not be able to use a particular chemical which you are using in your farm because it has an effect, a negative effect on the environment, you have to be, the awareness has to be raised first before that policy comes into play. So I will still go back to the issue of, I am seeing the One Health platform as the one that brings all these stakeholders, national, county, regional governments, to speak in one language to be able to tackle these problems. Not just for endocrine disruptors, but for microbes, even other chemicals basically that affect us. For example, wildlife, how is it affected? We would want KWS to come in, for example. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wawero. Maybe one last question that came from Dale. He's asking, he's asking, how can microbial-based biosensors, how can microbial community be used to detect and assess the presence of estrogenic endocrine disruptors in water bodies?
Okay. Now, thank you for the questions. We need to separate the microbes, which are basically living organisms, microscopic, from the endocrine disruptors, which are chemicals emanating from various sources. For the community, I'm trying to imagine what kind of technology that could be deployed at the community level for them to be able to detect them. And because the technologies that are used to either analyze the microbe, do a microbial analysis or the chemical analysis, are quite costly. And I think that's why I said it will be best for us to think of ways that can prevent the entry of these chemicals or microbes before we even think of how do we detect them. We can develop ways of doing it, but that would be easy to be instituted by either the county, the monitoring. That's why I said we need the government to come in and do something like surveillance, have effective surveillance systems for microbes. We can also do research in terms of, for example, universities, but we may not be there every other day to. So the best would be to promote sustainable practices. How do we promote these sustainable practices whereby household in, say, Loita can have access to clean water that is not contaminated with microbes, and that we are sure it does not have any other chemical in them. That would probably mean we start thinking of probably rainwater harvesting, and the water goes to a good storage reservoir where animals are not able to come in and contaminate. Otherwise, if you are trying to deploy these technologies at the ground level, it will require a technical expertise. They're a bit expensive. So again, my answer would be to promote more sustainable practices. And that is what probably now we need to explore. What can we do to make sure that it's cheap, it's affordable, but effective? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wawero. And thank you to the three presenters for shedding, extensive light on these very critical, elements that surround within the scope of One Health, which is our main agenda of the day. And to a great extent, I think the presenters, touched greatly on issues to do with water and the disruption of the ecosystem majorly by the human activities. And the big thing that has arose out of that is the research and again can we translate this research to benefit the community or to address the challenges that are within the scope of the One Health approach. So I want to welcome Dr. Nathan so that he takes us through the next session, which will encompass what I've touched base on how we can utilize this research or how we can come together as academicians, as researchers, as the community members or people from other disciplines now to translate this research to the community members and take up this research to address the challenges that we're having within the scope of One Health approach. So karibu sana Dr. Nathan.
Thank you, Matendi. Thank you, Dr. Wawero. Thank you, Martha. And thank you, Feruz. I am very much inspired and challenged to continue pushing forward in trying to ensure that One Health spaces, which contain so many good solutions for the real world problems, that we need to work together even more strongly and see what the way forward can look like. So I want to thank everyone who has stayed with us, mostly in the evening East Africa time. Although I also want to acknowledge the presence of others from throughout the continent in Africa and anyone else who's joining also from the global community. So on the realm of the time check sides, we planned for a meeting of approximately 90 minutes. And I think based on my own assessments, this meeting is a great success so far. But we want to shift to doing an interactive idea sharing and have an open discussion. And what we could even look at is the possibility of doing breakout rooms, if that would meet the consensus of anyone, so that you could connect on a more one-on-one or smaller scale with other colleagues in this space and have a chance to actively interact and share. But otherwise, if you need to depart, I would like to invite anyone to unmute, to raise your hand, to give feedback on the content of the presentations, to share your own ideas about how we can move forward as a One Health community. And just want to also briefly mention a couple of items that were posted into the chat. One is a link to One Health Day website, where we could look at 2025 and try and carry forward the momentum that we have from tonight and look and see what more can be done to celebrate One Health Day moving forward into the future, especially with the intention of looking at One Health for people and people for One Health. I see just recently in the chats, Mr. Ole Kisir has posted some feedback or a question to Dr. Wawero, really looking at indigenous people, indigenous worldviews, and indigenous practices, which are so prominent and even well-known and recognized, world famous, with the Maasai community that's borders between both Kenya and Tanzania. So I think that is a very relevant question and a relevant idea that's on the side of Acopphe, the organization that together with Masai Mara University, we opened up this space to celebrate One Health Day together. We are in the process of forming a consortium where we are looking at a community-based approach to One Health, linking it with climate change, and really trying to have this be a dynamic space for continuing to have research along the lines of what was presented tonight, and even more, where we try and have strong representation both from human and animal side, and ensuring that we have the environmental colleagues with so much expertise in the realm of conservation, climate, and other related areas, that they are strongly featured and assume their appropriate seat at the table. So we have the email addresses for everyone who registered for this meeting, and we have the plan to continue actively engaging, opening up spaces like this. And basically we'll invite, once we've moved forward with formalizing this consortium, to invite representation and active leadership in this consortium so that we advance the objectives of One Health. So with that brief introduction to the discussion, we also had posted in the chat a link about Africa and One Health. So please feel free to follow that link, learn about the perspective that was shared from a team from Tanzania about how Africa is positioned to be a global leader in the One Health space. And I think it's up to us to ensure that that's potential is translated into a reality. So please either unmute, raise your hand, and especially if you need to take off or depart in the next several minutes, so that we keep time, but otherwise we'll aim to try and have somewhere around around 15 or 20 minutes of the idea sharing and discussion before we look to the action points and next steps and see what the way forward looks like for our emergent and impactful community. So
climate change.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. This is Moema here. So I want to start by acknowledging the very good presentations which have been done by the students and also Dr. Kamundia. I also want to acknowledge Acopphe for the initiative of focusing on the community, like bottom up, starting with the community and then looking at what the community needs are, and then how do we link these in a One Health approach to address the challenges at the community level. For the two presentations from Kemunto and Faisal, my recommendation would be if we could have these targeted recommendations, which we can target a specific body to like address, and then with the help of maybe the university or this consortium, we could follow up these recommendations to make sure that they are actioned. And like the first presentation where we had this research on the water pans, this could be followed up to also check the biological contamination, like the E. coli, like the other one which who did the work on E. coli, together with the biophysical contaminants, and then also try and also link this with the community level, the people who are using this water, and see whether there is any correlation. So that's something we could follow up. And then also one of the things I've learned here is we have a very strong environmental link. One of them, for the many meetings I've attended for One Health, there have always been that overrepresentation from animal health, from human health, and the environmental aspect has been either underrepresented or underrepresented. But I think here we have a strong representation of the environmental component, which is a very good thing. So I think going forward, this will be like one of those consortiums where you have all the sides well represented. In terms of the research, we from experience as researchers, we do this good research, we publish papers, and then we leave it at that point. I think as a good practice, we need to follow this up with simplified key messages to the policy makers, because most of them don't read our research because it's technical. But if we could follow this up with very simple policy briefs, which could be shared with the people who make decisions, and we find avenues where we can have these people and they can listen to us, and this information is presented in a simple language which they understand, and we tie it down to the needs of the community they represent. I think that would be a good thing and a way forward for the research which is being done in this One Health space. And then also I've seen public engagement pieces like this good research we are doing. If we could also translate it into newspaper articles, things which the public engages with. That way we would be building awareness of One Health, and then we would also be able to bring in more people to start understanding the challenges the communities are facing, the solutions we are suggesting in our One Health approach, and therefore that would be a more holistic way of addressing these issues. So I would want to stop there. Thank you.
Asante sana, Daktari Moema. That is all very much in order and well noted. And I want to just echo the sentiments that in this space we have a very unique opportunity to ensure that the environmental side, the systemic underappreciation, underrepresentation in the One Health space, and more generally in society, that we can be sure that that's in equity, and that's very much inappropriate dynamic, that we can address it and resolve that issue by looking how to have deep sustainability in partnership with the community, by elevating indigenous values, indigenous solutions, and other relevance approaches in climates and other One Health spaces. So thank you so much for those great contributions. And I want to invite anyone else who would like to contribute more, either unmute, just speak, or raise your hands. Either one is okay.
Nathan, I would probably want to make a comment or two.
Okay, karibu.
Thank you so much for providing the platform. And for us, the notice was short, and therefore we were not able to capture more people, but I still believe we did well. What I would want to mention is, for example, I've seen two of my colleagues here, and they're also working in the Mara ecosystem in one capacity or another. We majored on water coincidentally, but they work on something else. So I think the forum provides them at least a platform for them also to interact with the community. Now, one of the things that is coming out in the university right now is we are not supposed to just do research for the sake of publishing and graduating PhD students and master students. One of the things, the pillars should be, it should have an impact on the community. How is it changing livelihoods? So that's where now innovation comes in. I take it as a challenge. The question I was asked: how can we have tools in the community can use to probably detect the microbes and So it's a challenge actually for us to, can we think of what we can do to trickle down the information or provide a solution that can be used right down at the community. That's one. The second one is we need to commercialize some of these things, the research we are doing, in a way that it's either commercialized or implemented at the community level, basically. If we are to develop a sustainable ecosystem of research, we need to not just publish and shelf. We need to publish and impact. I think that's one of the things we need to come out of this. The second point I wanted to make is, you talked of breakout rooms. We tackled issues to do with water, but I think there are very many themes in terms of the people who are dealing with food, the people who are dealing with the atmospheric air quality and so forth. Maybe we could move to a thematic approach, just a proposal, and because I believe we have different expertise in this group. The third one is just also to appreciate that we have quite a number of students, and this provides a very good exposure for them. I mean, when we're in class, we just teach them, but now they're getting to hear what we do, what is happening on the ground. And as they graduate, it offers them a very different insight. They're now aware of what is happening. And it also provided that, lastly, I'm happy that Feiruz and Martha, they are our students. Feiruz presented her undergraduate work. What I'm looking at is, as she now does her master's, probably if she works in the same area, building on that, and now providing solutions as we're speaking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamundia. And I want to just open up the floor again. Say thank you all for staying with us. I believe Marompi Masago, I see your hands. Karibu. Hello, Bana Masago. Karibu. So I see your hand is up, but you're still muted. If you can work on that as we see if anyone else would like to give your...
Okay. Are you able now to hear me?
Yes, yes. We hear you. Karibu.
Yeah. How is everyone?
All is well on this side. How is Nero?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for this great opportunity and for this great idea of One Health. It is really a timely idea, and we are looking forward to come up with the critical ideas that will enable this happen. So on my side, I just wanted to say something very little about the importance of involving the local communities in these ideas, because they are the people who are on the grassroots, and they have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of indigenous knowledge, and if they only happen to get to be part of these platforms, they will be of great help, not only to us, but to the whole globe. So I strongly support, and I say thank you very much for coming up with this. We are looking forward to meet with all the teams very soon as you plan to come. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Bwana Masago. And we are ready to stand together with you and your team from Masai Mara, also Asasir, and the great work you're doing to center cultural values, cultural approaches as we look at
Yeah.
One Health, climate change, and
Mm.
other areas.
Okay.
So let's stay together, stay
Yeah.
connected. I know we'll connect in Narok in a few days for the discussions around launching this consortium, and we will rise to the challenge together to ensure that everyone in this call, you have a meaningful opportunity to continue engaging, moving forward in an active way, because we all know the scale of the challenges are quite significant, but whenever we stand
Yeah,
together,
true.
I don't think any challenge is too big. So thank you so
Very
much.
true. Absolutely. Absolutely true. Thank you.
Karibu sana. So anyone else who would like to share, please feel free. So maybe just an idea if we have a possible contribution from James Dabelen, who is here representing communities from the northern side of Kenya. And I know there are many overlapping challenges, which in another light are also opportunities for these integrated approaches in arid and semi-arid areas in Kenya, East Africa, and beyond. So maybe James, if you have any thoughts or contributions to share, how these issues are relevant to your local communities in the northern part of Kenya, please feel free.
Thank you so much, Nathan, and thank you everyone for coming together to celebrate this day. I come from Marsabit, and I come from the Rendile community, and they are pastoralist community, and with the One Health approach, I think it is really good to bring it back home, where we connect the health of people, the animals, and also the environment. But coming in as a peace and conflict practitioner, I see also One Health being able to bring resilience to this community, because sometimes they fight over resources, scarce resources. They also have conflict over maybe a spread of diseases that has killed their animals. And this is a great topic, and especially the presentations from Dr. Kamundia and Feruz and Martha has really opened my eyes to see how the bacteria can affect the health of many people and also animals. And there is a lot to be done, especially in the remote and rural areas, where sometimes even the county government cannot reach. So I come from such a community where people just drink water direct from the well, and also there is a lot of high cases of cancer even along the Chalbi Desert. That is because of the pollution. And I think this is a very good discussion that we need to keep on connecting and talk more about this. And I'm happy to be part of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, James. And I see this as a real opportunity where, as you mentioned, many of these communities are very remote and have some serious challenges, which if we look at maybe just a single sector or a narrow approach, relying on just government, civil society, private sector, then we cannot solve these very deep and entrenched challenges. But looking at this community-centered approach to One Health, where we can actually recognize and understand these challenges and ensure that the people who are most impacted and in many settings are the ones least responsible for these vulnerabilities related to climate change and other environmental issues, that they are put at the center of these discussions and even the decision making about how these resources are used and how ultimately we can try and actualize, reactivate the indigenous wisdom that universally our ancestors all understood to be common sense, that we are part of nature. And if we are not stewards of the shared spaces we have in the natural environment and the one home on planet Earth, then we will be the ones who will suffer the consequences. So that is a call to action to ensure that we understand this issue and join together to ensure that people who are impacted the most are at the center of these discussions. So I believe Eric, let me see, Eric Emali, I saw your hand some minutes ago. If you would like to contribute, please feel free. And I don't see your hand anymore, but if you would like to unmute, please feel free to come in. Otherwise, anyone else, as we look to maybe winding down within the next 10 minutes and looking to channel the discussion more towards the future and what the way forward looks like for the action points and next steps, what we can do to join together and be a part of the change we need to see. Anyone who would like to come in?
I just want to say something very short. As we prepare to meet, let us all try to come with varied ideas and be free to share so that we see on how best we can assist one another in making sure that this dream will come to pass, and maybe in the near future or the long future will be remembered or will be associated with the success that will be realized. Because it is for sure, if according to us, as assessors, for example, we are really seeing a lot of opportunities in this that can be doable, and this can lead to a healthy planet if only we as human beings of different organizations, different institutions come together with the same vision. We are going to realize a great achievement. I am 100% sure of that. So it doesn't matter how much we are going to achieve, but what matters is it possible to achieve, at least to change the scenario of what is going on in the present to a better situation tomorrow? That is what matters. So that is the reason why I'm saying this is to us, we see this as a great opportunity, and it is also something which is doable. It is only that you can't do alone, but as long as you have teams who are of the same mind, this can be felt by future generations and even the present generations. So thank you very much, and that's the only thing I am saying. I am only encouraging all of us that let us all be motivated towards this. Thank you.
Asante sana, Dr. Masago. And I hear you loud and clear, and just echo that sentiment to the audience that everyone's voice matters. And this is a unique historical moment where we are seeing the opportunity to connect in spaces like this one across borders with like-minded friends and allies, both locally and globally. So it is somehow our call to action to ensure that we connect, we share these ideas, and scale the solutions so that we restore a healthy and balanced relationship between people and planet, all doing that as one united human family within the circle of life. So I just posted in the chat the Acopphe email address if you have any feedback, ideas, thoughts about how we can move forward together. We know that in 1 year, we have the One Health Day coming up, and that could be a specific challenge to ensure that more people in more places come together, especially at the community level, to do activities and actions that link together, raise this awareness about the interconnection and interdependency of human, animal, and environmental health. And then we have the opportunity on an ongoing basis to continue connecting virtually in this manner. Then we have the consortium that we have mentioned a few times. If you're interested in being a part of activating that and seeing a sustainable strategy to move forward and make that accessible, inclusive, impactful, all of those good things, we welcome your feedback and need you to join us to stand strongly and make that dream into a reality. So I think we are moving towards closing. If you have any last thoughts, please feel free to put it in the chat or to unmute and share. Otherwise, I'd like to hand it over to Nightingale to have some closing words and guide us to the resting time of the day and night. Karibu nights.
I think I will take over if no one else would like to say some parting words. And mine is to thank everyone who made the time to come and celebrate One Health Day by engaging through learning. And a big thank you to Dr. Wabero Kamundia for the presentation and for playing a key role in orchestrating and planning this event along with us. Also to the other two presenters, a big thank you, Martha and Peiruz. And also to the team that made it possible today to happen. Thank you very much. So again, as we go on, there are some takeaway words that we have had from all the presenters, as well as some posts that have been again, happy One Health Day, although it was yesterday, but we celebrated it. Officially, it was yesterday, but we celebrated it today. And looking forward to more engagements. And asanteni sana. You well. And I declare the meeting closed.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Hope to connect soon. Thank you all. Good night.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.